Hey everyone, welcome to season 4 of Not Your Average Bucket List, presented by Only in Your State. My name is Marissa. I'm here with my co host Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Marissa. I will say I'm disappointed we're not matching today, but that's okay. You didn't send the
Yeah.
memo, and that's fine by me.
I know, I was like, dare I wear it 2 episodes in a row? So welcome everybody. We are officially in season 4 of Not Your Average Bucket List. And we kicked it off last week with our Hidden Gems, which is our editorial tent pole put together by the Only in Your State team. Shout out again to Megan Shute. And it's 24 hidden gems across the US, 24. So obviously for 2024. And so we did a quick little episode to kind of summarize what you would find. And this episode, we're doing something a bit different. We are taking one of our most popular articles and we're going to do a deep dive on it. So, how are you feeling about this episode thus far?
I'm excited. I was actually really thrilled to focus on one spot and to just you know, um, I just am really excited to show people what we have on the site and talk about it and maybe learn a little bit more. So that was great. How about you?
Yeah, I'm excited to take these articles that we have and really kind of round them out. I feel like not just with an audio component, because, as we're learning, people are loving audio, sometimes preferably over reading an article. So if we're offering
Yep.
both options, that's great. And then also just I like that we're expanding on these articles because I feel like there's so much more information that I found in my research. I don't know
Hmm.
about you, that,
Yeah.
was not necessarily covered in the article. So now it's just going to be like just this really great comprehensive thing that we have.
Yes. And I think I'm going to You know what? I do this every time, but whenever I research something for this podcast, I put my own little note in the back of my head of like, okay, well, I should go there.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm going to go. You know what? Maybe I should commit to that. Every place that we
I love
discuss
that.
on the new season of Not Your Average Bucket List, I just have to go see it or else put my money where my mouth is.
So Washington, we're covering the state of Washington, and that is on my bucket list this year. I've been through it.
Mm,
I haven't really spent too much time, but you know me and my love of the Pacific Northwest.
yep.
So I'm just like reading about, this swimming hole we're going to talk about today, while also looking at these photos. And I'm right there with you. I would love to visit this place. It looks magical. I don't know
Yep.
about you.
Yes. So just to start off, how have you ever been to, like a swimming hole, like a proper swimming hole, not a pool, not a lake, but just like this like little designated hole in the ground for swimming?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
in Texas. Well, actually, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. There was one in Oregon, and
Nice.
Tennessee too. Yes,
Yeah, you
during
could
my
do a special road trip to every swimming hole in the US. I love it. Committed to it.
well,
You heard it
interesting
here.
stuff. Yeah, it was while I was traveling. So for people that don't know, I built out a camper van and traveled for a couple of years. There were times when I was like in dire straits of finding a hot shower. So you know, if you have
Yep.
to just kind of dive into some place that allows swimming, obviously,
Yeah.
as just like nature's shower, sometimes you just kind of have to rough it. What about you?
No,
Swimming pool experience?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, more so like lakes and rivers and streams, stuff like that. Like if I'm kayaking and I just want to like hop out and hop back in, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
this researching about this article made me realize just how iconic swimming holes are. Like they're really part of Americana and American culture, especially in
Yes.
rural areas. I was looking up
Yes.
just some like stats on it, and according to what it means to be American, swimming holes are just very much American and born of a necessity whenever people didn't have fabricated pools. They didn't have the money, they didn't have the technology. So, yeah, before the 20th century, whenever there weren't, many bathhouses or pools, people would literally just find a nice place to chill out, swing from a tree, and jump in. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I remember my grandma used to tell me about growing up in I don't know if it was New Jersey or New York where this place was, but it was called the Ice Box, and it was a
Mm.
swimming hole that her and her brothers and sisters and friends used to go to. It's called the Ice Box because it was freezing, obviously, but that's how she grew up, was going to the Ice Box during the summer.
Yep.
And I thought that was just such a cool little memory that kind of, just like resurfaced while I was researching this.
I feel like it's a nostalgia for something I didn't even do, but it's like, oh, doesn't that sound great? Just
Yeah,
take in a blanket and your loved ones and your dogs, go sitting on a rock by a swimming hole and just, chilling out. I think that's, I don't know. I love it. And like,
yeah.
you get a grapevine, swing out over it. Yeah.
Great point. Love that.
Yep.
Yeah, so okay, so the title of this article that we're talking about today is "This Popular Swimming Hole in Washington Will Make You Feel Like a Kid on Summer Vacation." And the swimming hole is called Big Eddy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I didn't know this, but Big Eddy, I thought it was just the name. It was like, oh, they named it after a local named Eddie who loved to swim.
Uh,
So that's
yeah.
not the case. I didn't
Like
know what an Eddy was.
a literal Eddy, a literal Big Eddy. Not to be
Yeah,
confused with the popular and historic Deep Eddy Pool in Austin.
right.
Like, which I assume they named Deep Eddies after, which I just realized
Yes.
in this moment.
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
which is a brand of vodka if you don't know. So yeah, it's not Deep Eddy, which was I think a swimming hole originally in the Colorado River and was like the first pool in Texas. But Big Eddy swimming hole, part of the Skykomish River. There we go.
Yeah. Yes. And so an eddy is an area of swirling water that forms behind an obstacle in a river.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so,
and it's. Oh, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, and it usually is like a space of like reprieve if you're in a current. So because it's flowing the opposite direction of the main river flow. So like if you're going down a river and you see a rock and there's an eddy behind it, people I think will like pull over when they're kayaking or like trying to cross, and it's like you're shielding yourself from the current.
Yes. Yeah. So I had no idea, first and foremost, about that. And so this swimming hole in particular is described more as a calm pool in a very big river that is
Yes.
very family friendly and children safe.
Yeah, actually, whenever I first saw the name, I'm like, an eddy. Is it like a riptide? Like, are we gonna worry about it? But no, it is very family
Right.
friendly, and it is a big open area with turquoise water. But I will say, if you're not used to going into a river or a swimming hole that is made from mountain snowpack or something that's coming down from the mountains, it is cold, like
Yeah.
amazingly so. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I did find in some of my research that people were, obviously, I don't know if you know the new resurface trend on TikTok about cold plunges, but
Yep.
people are saying that this is a perfect way to get in a cold plunge, the
Yeah.
natural way, which I think is very cool. And so also just general information. Big Eddy swimming hole is about 2.5 miles from the town of Gold Bar, Washington,
Yep.
which so Gold Bar is about an hour northeast-ish from Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
and I will say that surprise, surprise, the town of Gold Bar was found during the gold rush, and it was the first white settlers there were probably trappers, traders, and gold prospectors. So thus Gold Bar, and it was actually part of a project to create a trail that led out to the riches of the West, but that trail failed. However, Gold Bar remained and is now modern day Gold Bar.
interesting. Love that. Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you mentioned the turquoise water of the Skykomish River. So they're fed from the Cascades. So
Yep.
it basically makes them cold all year round. I did find in my research that some people are suggesting visiting in March,
Yeah.
and that while it's very, very cold still in March, that's when the turquoise waters, they're beautiful green, blue, translucent. They say that March is the time to go if you want that, like, color scheme of your visit.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of the Skykomish River Valley, and it's very picturesque. Like the iconic Pacific Northwest with waterfalls, meandering roads, forests, and things like so. Just getting to this area, I think, is going to be absolutely beautiful. And then,
Yeah,
yeah, if you're
and
going whenever it's going to be clear, even better.
yes, and there are bridges too. The
Mhm.
Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Bridge, which is beautiful, and then there's also the Swiftwater Covered Bridge, which cool little places you can kind of walk to or see while you're at the swimming hole.
Yeah, and I will say that let's say if you're approaching the swimming hole and which is outside of Gold Bar, like you said, it's a couple miles down the road. You're heading southeast on Route 2, and once you cross the river, you'll see a public access spot and a visual cue that you're at the right place is the bridge you mentioned, like the
Mm-hmm.
Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Bridge crosses over the Brother River, and then you know, and then on the other side, the state route does as well. So not only I do want to say that not only is this a beautiful place, but it's also kind of a more rural park. And the
Yeah.
turnoff, according to the most recent Google Maps I've seen, there isn't a huge sign. It's kind of like a hidden little turnoff to a parking lot. So there is a parking lot with restrooms that are ADA accessible, and then you have this big large, just kind of like open rocky area. So it gets pretty busy, but it's big enough to where you're not going to be like overrun or feeling like it's squeezed in there either.
Yeah, I do like that people are saying, this is not a hidden gem by any means.
Hmm.
Everyone, especially locals, they know of this place. It's not a secret spot.
Yep.
So it's very popular, especially during the summer months. But like you said, there's enough space. There's a small, sandy, rocky beach
Yep.
that is the access point you were talking about. So it's not going to be like one of those things that you just like stumble upon and nobody's there, because this is the way a lot of people will spend their summer afternoons, is cooling off at this swimming hole.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't know about it, so it's a hidden gem maybe for people who aren't local to the area. So put it on your
Yeah.
list if you're ever heading through as somewhere to stop. I made the mistake driving through California this past year, looking up some places to stop, just to take a break with my brother and his kids and stuff. And I thought I found this really cool swimming hole that was by a dam, and I was so excited. We took off the beaten path just to get there, and it was basically like a municipal dam that was like made for like actual like urban structure and stuff, and not like a natural sort of like waterfally area. So
Oh, okay.
always gotta research or else you're gonna
Yes.
have a car full of disappointed kids.
Oh no, definitely not. Can't do that.
Yeah.
So also, uh, that in the local area there is kind of just adding on to your day trip. I wanted to recommend stopping at Zeke's Drive-In in Gold Bar, which is a hamburger spot, historic. It has one of those Northern Railroad rail cars outside.
Oh,
But
cute.
yeah, so if you want to make a fun day trip out of it, you can go swimming at Big Eddy's, then go into town and Gold Bar, grab some hamburgers at this place. It has kind of a walk up counter, old school Americana style burger joint. But yeah, get some food and kind of explore the town.
And I have seen a lot of people actually do a twofer. So they'll go to Big Eddy swimming hole, but then they'll also go to what is it called? So outdoorproject.com said if you keep driving towards Stephen Pass, like 3.5 miles, you'll see Eagle Falls. And that has another like deep pools, granite slabs, and you can like jump off the cliffs and stuff. So if you want to have a secondary
Mm,
option, you can go to Eagle Falls. Like there's a lot in the area that
cool.
you could take advantage of.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Man, I wish we had more stuff like that in Florida.
Yeah.
Jumping off
No,
cliffs and
no quarries filled with
swimming.
water.
Yeah, and alligators. So we
Yeah,
can't
that's
do that over here. But yeah, did you come across any more like additional recommendations or like certain things, tips, tricks, kind of before you visit Deep Eddy?
yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just knowing like one, there's parking, two, it might be busy, but there should be enough space. It's maintained by the Washington State Park Department, so there are people going there making sure it's safe and clean, but I wouldn't expect like a fancy pool level with beach chairs and things like that. So be
Yeah.
be advised it is a natural spot, and in addition to that Eagle Falls, I did see people recommend just going to the Wallace Falls State Park, which is, I mean, basically part of, like, Gold Bar is part of it, or very, very close by, and it's a 4,700-acre park and has waterfalls and mountain views. So you could really spend a whole day, day and a half, like, doing this area, and I
Cool.
think that would be, I don't know, it'd be really fun, and you can do it year round too. Big Eddy doesn't have a closed date. It might be better in the warmer months, but it's not like you're going to go and it's inaccessible.
Yeah. Yeah, I so also obviously bring essentials, sunscreen, water, snacks. If you are a fan of water shoes, if you don't like being barefoot in a river, I would say bring water shoes.
It's
Eh,
smart, very smart to do. I hate water. The
I do
sensation.
too. I know.
Ugh,
I'm with you. I am
it's not
with
good.
you. And then you get sand and particles stuck in there.
No, thank
But
you.
yes, I know a lot of people that will use them just because, like, on the adverse, walking around in a
Yep.
river and not knowing what you're stepping on. But
Yeah.
also, I feel like we should incorporate a segment into this season in particular, top tips from Google reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how we can kind of get a better local perspective, is getting some feedback from Google reviews, people that, are there kind of sharing their little tidbits of information.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so I
also
pulled
think
a,
that going forward, I know we're doing it live, so you're hearing it here, but I think we should really go back to our state pages and say go to Only in Washington and get the locals tips from our readers, because I think we
yeah,
should give a post, say, hey, what do you want us to know about Big Eddy swimming hole? Tell us the good, the bad, the ugly, the in between,
yes,
and let us
absolutely.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, let's definitely do that going forward. I would love to include that. In particular for this episode, here are some Google review tips from people that have visited recently. There are picnic tables and barbecue pits. Water
Mm.
access is about 100 feet from the parking area. The current can be strong. So while it
Okay.
is a family friendly place, people are saying just be careful with young children, especially. Um, there is a fee to park. It's about $10 for the fee, or you can get a Discover Pass and have that. A lot of people, I know you mentioned kayaks. A lot of people said this is a nice spot for beginner kayaking.
Yeah, and there is a boat launch, but it's a hand launch, so it's not like you can really back up a trailer or hitch or anything. I think it's like
Yeah.
kayak canoes, stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. And finally, people said that it's easy to get to, but the road does have potholes. So you want to drive slow and
Yep.
especially be careful if you're trying to get there during winter. Um, but yeah, those are some top tips from Google Locals.
And just from me, because I'm a worrywart, please be careful on the rocks. Like, I don't know if you've ever spent time in a
Yeah.
river, but they get so slick and you can't even see the moss and stuff sometimes. So just be
Yes.
advised to take
Yeah.
care. I don't want to have to take a
100%.
trip to the emergency department because you slipped.
Yeah. And also be very mindful of no trespassing signs.
Mm-hmm.
We, are not encouraging you to trespass by any means, just especially not just because it's illegal, but sometimes they're trying to rebuild local flora and fauna and that sort of thing. So you don't want to be trampling on things that you shouldn't. So just be mindful of those signs as well before you go.
Yep, absolutely. And plus, it's usually for your own well being too. There are some dangerous spots that you might not realize are quite so dangerous. It's not worth the
Yeah,
Instagram photo, folks. Just
it's
isn't.
not. Yes, it's true. Yeah, so that pretty much rounds out my research for Big Eddy. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in the episode?
I think that's it. I thought it was really interesting that the city of Gold Bar was a prospecting city, and it has that history, and it's a small rural town too. That's close enough to a big city that it's not too far out to where you couldn't just do a quick day trip. Yeah, I think that's it. It looks like an amazing spot. I would probably be able to take one cold dip in it and get right back out, warm up, dip in again. But I don't know. Those waters are
Yes.
cold. They're beautiful and soothing, but they are cold.
Yeah. No, yes. I've jumped in cold water before, and just the way it like catch it, like your
Oh,
whole breath catches and whew, rough.
it's exciting though. It does something to the brain.
That's true.